Marcus Chen sat across from the towering Vorthak delegation in the sterile white conference room aboard Diplomatic Station Harmony. The alien's crystalline skin caught the artificial light, creating rainbow patterns that might have been beautiful if Marcus wasn't so tired of looking at them. This was the 15th formal proposal in 3 months, and he already knew what his answer would be. Ambassador Zethkar clicked his mandibles in what Marcus had learned was impatience. The sound echoed off the walls like breaking glass. Human Chen. The translator converted the alien's resonant tones into flat English. Surely you understand the generosity of our offer. Mining rights to the Kepler 442 system in exchange for simple cultural exchange programs. Your people would benefit greatly from Vorthak efficiency training. Marcus leaned back in his chair, studying the holographic contract floating between them. Pretty lights and fancy technology, but he could read between the lines. Cultural exchange programs meant indoctrination. Efficiency training meant replacing human creativity with alien conformity. He'd seen what happened to species that accepted such deals from the Vorthak Empire. The answer is no, Marcus said simply. The silence that followed was heavy. Through the observation window, Marcus could see Earth hanging in space like a blue marble. 3 billion humans lived down there, most of them unaware that their future was being decided in meetings like this one. They trusted him to protect their independence, and he wouldn't let them down. Zethkar's skin shifted from blue to deep purple, which Marcus recognized as frustration. You realize this is the 3rd mining proposal you have rejected this cycle? Your people need resources to expand beyond your small solar system. We offer partnership, and you respond with stubborn pride. I respond with wisdom, Marcus corrected. I've studied what happens to your partners, Ambassador. The Rigelians thought they were getting a good deal too. Now their homeworld is a Vorthak mining operation, and their people live in labor camps they call efficiency centers. The alien delegation shifted uncomfortably. Truth had that effect on them. Marcus had spent 5 years studying every species that had ever signed agreements with the Vorthak Empire. The pattern was always the same. Generous initial offers, gradual dependency, subtle control, then complete absorption. Humanity would not become another entry in their catalog of conquered civilizations. The Rigelians were different, Zethkar said, his skin now flickering between purple and red. Humans show more promise. You would be valued partners, not subjects. Marcus almost laughed. Valued until you find something you value more, then we become expendable. He stood up, straightening his formal diplomatic jacket. The answer is no, Ambassador. It will always be no. The lead Vorthak rose to his full 8-foot height, towering over Marcus. It was an intimidation tactic that might have worked on other species. Humans, however, had long ago learned not to be impressed by size alone. Marcus met the alien's multifaceted gaze without flinching. Your species puzzles us, Human Chen, Zethkar admitted. We have observed your people for decades. You are not the strongest species we have encountered. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. Your lifespan is brief, your body's fragile. Yet you refuse every reasonable offer we present. What do you hope to accomplish with this defiance? Marcus considered the question seriously. It was one he'd asked himself many times during the long negotiations. We hope to remain human, he said finally. Whatever that costs us. The alien translator buzzed as it processed concepts that didn't translate well. Independence, self-determination, the willingness to struggle rather than surrender. These were ideas the Vorthak Empire had difficulty understanding. They measured everything in terms of efficiency and control. Humans measured things differently. Your defiance will only delay the inevitable, Zethkar warned. The Empire spans 3 galaxy arms. We have resources you cannot imagine, technologies beyond your comprehension. Your small solar system cannot stand against us forever. Maybe not, Marcus agreed, but we'll stand as long as we can. The Vorthak delegation began filing out of the conference room, their crystalline feet clicking against the metal floor in synchronized patterns. Marcus remained seated, watching Earth through the window. Somewhere down there, children were playing in parks, artists were creating beauty, scientists were making discoveries. They were doing it all as free humans, and that was worth any price. His personal communicator chimed. A message from Earth's Unified Council. Status report requested. Marcus typed back quickly. Proposal rejected. Humanity remains independent. He could imagine the relief in the council chambers. Some of the counselors had been pushing him to accept the Vorthak offers, fearing the consequences of continued refusal. Marcus understood their fear. but he also understood the consequences of acceptance. Admiral Sarah Martinez entered the conference room as the last of the Vorthak delegation departed. Her uniform was crisp, her expression worried. "How did they take it?" she asked. "About as well as expected," Marcus replied. "They're getting frustrated. These proposals are coming more frequently now, and they're getting more generous. That worries me." "Why? Wouldn't better offers be good news?" Marcus shook his head. "With the Vorthak, desperation looks like generosity. They're not making these offers because they like us. They're making them because they need something from us and they're running out of time to get it." The Admiral frowned. "Need what?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out." Marcus pulled up his files on Vorthak expansion patterns. "They've been remarkably patient with us. Usually when a species refuses their initial offers, they simply conquer them outright. With humanity, they keep negotiating. That suggests we have something they can't just take by force." "Any theories?" Marcus stared out at the stars, thinking of all the species that had vanished into the Empire's vast bureaucracy. "Nothing concrete yet, but I have a feeling we're about to find out." 2 weeks later, Marcus found himself in the same conference room, facing a very different kind of delegation. These weren't the usual Vorthak diplomats with their crystalline skin and measured words. These were hegemony officials, beings that made the Vorthak look friendly by comparison. The lead hegemony representative was a creature called Overlord Kithmos, whose metallic exoskeleton gleamed under the station's lights. Where the Vorthak at least pretended to care about diplomacy, the hegemony ruled through pure intimidation. Marcus had hoped he'd never have to deal with them directly. "Human Chen?" Kithmos spoke without bothering with a translator, his voice a grinding metallic rasp that hurt to listen to. "Your continued rejection of Imperial proposals has attracted attention from higher authorities. I am here to present an offer that cannot be refused." Marcus felt Admiral Martinez tense beside him, but he kept his expression neutral. "I wasn't aware the hegemony involved itself in recruitment negotiations. Normally we do not." Kithmos activated a holographic display that filled half the room. It showed star charts, fleet movements, and casualty reports from across the galaxy. "However, your species has become a problem that requires direct intervention." The displays showed worlds burning, entire star systems stripped of resources, billions of beings processed into the Empire's vast industrial machine. Marcus recognized some of the locations, former independent civilizations that had stood against the Vorthak for centuries before falling. "Observe the Alterian Confederacy." Kithmos gestured to one section of the display. 47 worlds, 12 billion inhabitants, military technology nearly equal to our own. They resisted Imperial expansion for 300 years. Where are they now? The display zoomed in on what had once been the Alterian homeworld. Now it was nothing but a hollow shell. Its resources completely extracted, its population gone. Marcus had studied the Alterian resistance. They'd been incredibly brave, incredibly smart, and incredibly doomed. "The Alterians made the same mistake you are making," Kithmos continued. "They believed independence was worth any cost. They were wrong. Independence is worth nothing to the dead." Admiral Martinez leaned forward. "Are you threatening us, Overlord?" The metallic being's head swiveled toward her with mechanical precision. "I am presenting facts. The Empire contains 6,000 species across 800,000 worlds. Do you know what they all have in common, Admiral?" "Enlighten me," she replied coldly. "They all eventually joined willingly, not because they wanted to, but because they finally understood the futility of resistance. Today I offer humanity the chance to skip the unpleasant learning process." Marcus studied the new proposal that appeared in the holographic display. It was extraordinary. Full citizenship in the Empire, guaranteed human autonomy on 1,000 worlds, advanced technology transfers, and protection from any external threats. It was everything previous offers had promised and more. It was also completely false. "This is quite generous," Marcus said carefully. "Too generous, in fact. The Empire doesn't give citizenship to conquered species. They're given worker classifications. Humanity would be different," Kithmos insisted. "Your species shows unusual characteristics that the Empire finds valuable. With proper guidance, humans could become valuable contributors to Imperial society." "What characteristics?" Admiral Martinez demanded. The Overlord hesitated, the first sign of uncertainty Marcus had seen from him. Humans display remarkable adaptability under stress. Your combat effectiveness increases rather than decreases when facing overwhelming odds. Most species break under pressure. Humans seem to thrive on it. Marcus exchanged glances with the Admiral. That was interesting. The Empire was interested in human stubbornness, their tendency to fight harder when the situation looked hopeless. There's something else, Marcus said. The Empire has conquered thousands of species, but you're still here trying to negotiate with us. Why? You could have just invaded. The costs would be significant, Kithmos admitted reluctantly. Human resistance patterns differ from other species. Most civilizations concentrate their defenses around strategic targets. Humans appear to treat every settlement as a strategic target worth dying for. Marcus remembered the reports from humanity's war games and defense simulations. Every human city, town, and outpost had been prepared for invasion. Not just military resistance, civilian resistance. Children were taught basic combat skills alongside reading and mathematics. Every human was a potential fighter, and every piece of human territory would be bought with blood. You're afraid of us, Marcus realized suddenly. Not our technology or our military. You're afraid of our willingness to fight. The mechanical grinding that served as Kithmos's laughter was deeply unpleasant. Fear is an inefficient emotion, human Chen. We simply calculate costs versus benefits. The cost of conquering humanity through force would exceed the benefits for approximately 400 years. But you want us anyway. Why? Because, and here the Overlord's voice took on an almost hungry quality, humans possess something the Empire desperately needs, something we have not found in any other species across our vast territories. Admiral Martinez looked skeptical. Which is? Hope. The word hung in the air like a physical thing. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Hope? That was what the vast galaxy-spanning Empire needed from humanity. I don't understand, Marcus said. Kithmos gestured to another section of the holographic display. It showed internal Imperial reports, population statistics, productivity measurements. The pattern that emerged was troubling. Declining birth rates, increasing automation, decreasing innovation. The Empire was stagnating. The Empire is very old, human Chen. We have optimized everything that can be optimized, conquered everything that can be conquered, solved every problem that has a solution. Our people have lost the capacity to imagine things could be different. They accept their roles, perform their functions, and live their predetermined lives. Sounds efficient, Admiral Martinez said dryly. It is. It is also dying. The Overlord's admission was stark. Without hope, without the belief that tomorrow could be better than today, a civilization rots from within. We have 6,000 species, but they are all tired. They have forgotten how to dream of impossible things. Marcus began to understand, but humans haven't. No. Humans see a galaxy controlled by forces beyond their comprehension, and they still believe they can make a difference. They face impossible odds and still think they can win. Your species looks at the Empire that has conquered 6,000 others and says no, as if that word has power. It does have power, Marcus said quietly. Yes, Kithmos agreed. That is what we need. That is what this offer truly purchases. Not your compliance, but your hope. We need humans scattered throughout our empire, showing other species that resistance is possible, that change is possible, that tomorrow might be different from today. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Empire didn't want to conquer humanity. They wanted to use humanity's rebellious spirit to revitalize their dying civilization. They wanted to bottle human hope and spread it across the galaxy. It was, Marcus realized, the most insidious trap they'd ever laid. Marcus stared at the emergency council session display, watching as his superiors argued in real time from Earth. Through the quantum communication array, he could see the tension in every council member's face. His rejection of the hegemony offer had not gone over well. Chen has lost perspective, Counselor Williams was saying, his voice crackling through the transmission. We're talking about an offer that guarantees human survival with full autonomy. How can we possibly refuse that? Because it's not what it appears to be, Marcus interjected from his position on the diplomatic station. The Empire wants to use us as a tool to control other species. They're not offering partnership. They're offering exploitation wrapped in pretty promises. Counselor Park leaned forward on the screen. Ambassador, with respect, Your job is to negotiate humanity's best interests, not to make philosophical stands. Half our colonies are struggling with resource shortages. Our expansion into the outer systems has stalled. The Empire offers solutions to all of these problems. Marcus had been expecting this resistance. 3 months of rejected proposals had worn down the Council's resolve. Fear was a powerful motivator, and the Empire knew exactly how to apply it. "Counselor," Admiral Martinez spoke up from beside Marcus, "I've reviewed the intelligence on every species that accepted similar offers. Within 50 years, they were completely integrated into Imperial society. Their original cultures exist only in museums. But they're alive," Counselor Williams countered. "Their children have futures. Can we say the same if we continue this path of defiance?" The debate continued for 2 hours, with Marcus defending his decisions against increasingly desperate council members. Finally, Council President Torres called for order. "Ambassador Chen," Torres said gravely, "the Council has reached a decision by majority vote. You are instructed to inform the Imperial representatives that humanity is prepared to consider their proposals more seriously." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "President Torres, I strongly advise against." "The decision is made, Ambassador. You will arrange another meeting with the Imperial delegation and inform them of our willingness to negotiate in good faith." The transmission ended, leaving Marcus and Admiral Martinez alone in the conference room. Through the viewport, space looked infinitely dark and cold. "They don't understand," Marcus said quietly. "They think they can negotiate with the Empire like it's just another human government. They don't see that every yes makes the next no harder to say." Admiral Martinez checked her personal communications device. "It gets worse. I'm receiving reports from our intelligence networks. 3 separate human colonies have been approached directly by Imperial recruiters. They're not waiting for formal negotiations anymore." Marcus pulled up the reports on his own screen. The colonies were all frontier settlements, places where people were already struggling to survive. The Empire's offers were targeted and specific: advanced agricultural technology for New Kansas, rare mineral extraction equipment for Titan Base, medical supplies for the colonists dying of Kepler syndrome on Arcturus III. "Smart," Marcus admitted grudgingly. "They're applying pressure where we're weakest. These colonies can't afford to wait for formal diplomatic approval. If their people are dying, they'll make deals directly." "That's not the worst of it," Martinez said grimly. "Look at this." She transmitted a new file to his display. It showed troop movements throughout human space. Not enemy troops, but Imperial protection fleets taking positions near human colonies. They weren't attacking, but their presence was unmistakable. "Accept our help or we might not be able to protect you from other threats." "They're boxing us in," Marcus realized. "No direct threats, no ultimatums, just gentle pressure from every direction until we have no choice but to accept." His communicator chimed with an incoming message. It was from the Imperial delegation, requesting another meeting. Already, they'd somehow learned about the council session before Marcus had even reported back to them. "They have sources inside our government," Admiral Martinez observed. "Probably have for months." Marcus wasn't surprised. The Empire had millennia of experience in conquest. They would have identified and cultivated human collaborators long before formal contact. Probably people who genuinely believed cooperation was humanity's best option. The meeting was scheduled for the next day, but Marcus spent the night reviewing files on Imperial integration patterns. Every species told the same story in different ways. First came the generous offers, then the gradual dependency, then the helpful suggestions that slowly became requirements. Within a generation, the conquered species couldn't imagine life without Imperial guidance. The next morning brought an unusual surprise. Instead of the expected Vorthak or hegemony delegation, Marcus found himself facing a single human being. She was tall, professionally dressed, with the kind of confidence that came from years of success. Her badge identified her as Dr. Elena Vasquez, but Marcus recognized her from the history files. She'd been the chief negotiator for the Centauri Republic, right up until she'd convinced them to join the Empire. "Ambassador Chen," she said, extending her hand for a traditional human greeting. "I'm honored to meet the man who's been giving the Empire such interesting challenges." Marcus reluctantly shook her hand. "Dr. Vasquez, I wasn't expecting a human representative." "The Empire believes in using the right tool for each job," she said with a smile. After your previous rejections, they decided someone who truly understands humanity might be more persuasive. They sat across from each other at the same table, where Marcus had faced dozens of alien negotiators. Somehow, facing another human felt more dangerous. I've read your files, Ambassador. You're genuinely trying to protect humanity. I respect that. But you're operating on incomplete information. Enlighten me. Dr. Vasquez activated a holographic display showing a thriving human colony. The technology was clearly imperial, but the people looked genuinely happy. Children played in parks, families gathered for meals. Scientists made discoveries in advanced laboratories. New Geneva, she explained, a human colony that joined the Empire 30 years ago. As you can see, they've retained their culture, their freedom, their humanity. The Empire kept every promise they made. Marcus studied the display carefully. One colony. Out of how many human settlements that have joined the Empire? 47 so far, Dr. Vasquez admitted. All thriving, all free, all grateful they made the right choice. And the species that don't thrive under imperial rule? Her smile faltered slightly. Those species lacked humanity's adaptability. They couldn't maintain their identity while integrating into imperial society. Humans are different. How do you know? Because I've lived it, she said simply. I've been a full imperial citizen for 15 years. I've retained my humanity, my values, my freedom to choose. The Empire hasn't tried to change who I am. They've simply given me the tools to be better at it. Marcus looked into her eyes, searching for any sign of coercion or mental conditioning. He found none. She genuinely believed everything she was saying. That scared him more than any alien threat ever had. The emergency session of the Unified Council was unlike anything Marcus had experienced in his diplomatic career. Instead of the usual formal chamber on Earth, he found himself connected to a crisis meeting with representatives from across human space. Colony governors, military commanders, and civilian leaders all demanding answers. Ambassador Chen, Governor Harrison of New Montana, spoke first, his weathered face grim on the screen. My people are dying. We've lost 3 more settlements to mineral poisoning this week, and our medical supplies are critically low. The Imperial delegation here is offering immediate medical aid and environmental restoration technology. They want my answer by tomorrow. Governor, I understand your situation is desperate, but... No, Harrison interrupted. You don't understand. You're sitting safely on a diplomatic station while my children are dying. The Empire isn't asking me to surrender human independence. They're asking me to save human lives. Commander Patel from the Titan Defense Force joined the conversation. Ambassador, I've got Imperial protection fleets moving through my sector. They're not threatening anyone, but they're making their presence known. Yesterday, pirates attacked the Meridian trade convoy. Imperial ships responded faster than our own forces could. They saved 200 civilian lives. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. These weren't abstract political decisions anymore. Real people were suffering while he maintained his ideological stance against the Empire. The Empire is orchestrating these crises, Admiral Martinez interjected from beside Marcus. The pirate attacks, the medical emergencies, the resource shortages, they're all too convenient. Too perfectly timed, Dr. Elena Vasquez, who had been observing the session as an invited Imperial representative, shook her head. Admiral, I understand your suspicion, but correlation isn't causation. The galaxy is a dangerous place. The Empire is simply offering help where help is needed. Help that comes with strings attached, Marcus said. All help comes with obligations, Dr. Vasquez replied. When your neighbor helps you during a crisis, you feel grateful. When a friend loans you money, you feel indebted. These are normal human emotions, not sinister manipulation. President Torres looked exhausted. The stress of the situation was showing in every line on her face. Ambassador Chen, I've received formal requests from 18 colonial governors asking for permission to accept Imperial aid. I'm running out of reasons to tell them no. Because once we start accepting their help, we become dependent on it. Marcus argued. Every Imperial gift becomes a chain linking us to their system. They're not trying to conquer us militarily. They're trying to make conquest unnecessary. Councillor Williams, who had been increasingly vocal in his opposition to Marcus's stance, leaned forward. Ambassador, with all due respect, your paranoia is becoming dangerous. We're not talking about surrendering to an enemy. We're talking about joining a galactic civilization. Humanity can't remain isolated forever. We're not isolated, Marcus protested. We're independent. There's a difference. Is there? Dr. Vasquez asked quietly. Independence without the power to protect that independence is just isolation by another name. The Empire offers humanity a chance to be part of something larger than ourselves, while retaining everything that makes us human. Colonel Zhang from Mars Command added his voice to the growing opposition. Ambassador, my intelligence reports show Imperial recruitment efforts among our military personnel. They're not forcing anyone, but they're offering advanced training, better equipment, and opportunities to serve in galactic defense forces. Some of our best people are seriously considering it. Marcus felt the walls closing in. The Empire wasn't attacking humanity directly. They were making it impossible for humanity to remain independent without suffering. Meanwhile, they offered solutions to every problem, answers to every need, and hope for every aspiration. Let me ask you something, Marcus said to the assembled council members. When humans first reached the stars, why did we leave Earth? To explore, Governor Harrison said impatiently. To find new worlds, new opportunities. To be free, Commander Patel added. Exactly, Marcus said. To be free. To make our own choices, our own mistakes, our own discoveries. The Empire offers us safety, prosperity, and guidance, but they don't offer us freedom. Freedom to die from preventable diseases? Governor Harrison shot back. Freedom to struggle with resource shortages while solutions exist? Freedom to face threats we can't handle alone? Dr. Vasquez nodded sympathetically. Ambassador Chen, I understand your attachment to human independence. It's one of our most admirable traits. But independence without wisdom is just stubborn pride. The Empire doesn't want to take away human freedom. They want to give it meaning, by making us dependent on their approval for everything we do, by giving us the tools and knowledge to do things we never could have done alone. She activated another holographic display showing human colonies that had accepted Imperial partnership. Look at these worlds, Ambassador. Look at what humans are accomplishing with Imperial support. We're curing diseases that have plagued us for centuries. We're terraforming dead worlds into gardens. We're exploring regions of space that would have taken us millennia to reach alone. Marcus studied the displays, hating himself for being impressed. The achievements were undeniably remarkable. Humans working alongside alien technologies and alien knowledge accomplishing miracles. But at what cost? Admiral Martinez, he said quietly. Show them the Alterian files. The Admiral hesitated. Marcus, those files are classified. Show them. The display changed to show the historical records of the Alterian Confederacy's integration into the Empire. For 50 years, it had looked exactly like what Dr. Vasquez was showing them now. Prosperity, achievement, cooperation. Then gradually, the Alterians had stopped making their own decisions. Imperial advisors became Imperial administrators. Alterian culture became a quaint historical curiosity preserved in museums. This is what happened to every species that accepted Imperial partnership, Marcus said. Not conquest, absorption. They didn't lose their freedom all at once. They gave it up piece by piece, choice by choice, until they no longer remembered what independence felt like. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Dr. Vasquez spoke. The Alterians were different, she said, but her voice lacked its previous confidence. They weren't human. They didn't have our strength, our resilience, our hope. Neither did the other 6,000 species, Marcus replied. Each one thought they were different. Each one thought they could maintain their identity within the Empire. None of them succeeded. President Torres looked older than her years as she addressed the council. The vote is tomorrow, she said finally. Each colony will decide for itself whether to accept Imperial partnership. Ambassador Chen, you've presented your case. History will judge whether we chose wisely. As the session ended and the screens went dark, Marcus found himself alone with Admiral Martinez and Dr. Vasquez. The Imperial representative looked genuinely troubled. Ambassador, she said softly, what if you're wrong? What if humanity really could be different? What if we could join the Empire and still remain ourselves? Marcus met her eyes. Dr. Vasquez, what if I'm right? Marcus stood in the observation deck of Diplomatic Station Harmony, watching the lights of an Imperial medical frigate dock with the station's emergency bay. Inside that ship were the critical medical supplies that would save the lives of colonists on Arcturus III. He had 48 hours before Governor Harrison's deadline expired, and he still had no alternative to offer. The first colonies voted, Admiral Martinez said, joining him at the viewport. Her voice was heavy with defeat. New Montana, Arcturus III, and the Kepler Mining Consortium all voted to accept Imperial partnership. Effective immediately. Marcus closed his eyes, feeling a piece of humanity slip away. How many others are scheduled to vote this week? 16 more colonies. Early polls suggest most will follow New Montana's lead. Martinez handed him a data pad showing the voting projections. The Tau Ceti system is wavering. They still trust your judgment, but they're scared. The Vega colonies are holding out, but barely. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus. He was watching the Empire achieve through democracy what they'd never accomplished through conquest. Humans were choosing to surrender their independence one colony at a time. Dr. Vasquez approached them cautiously. Over the past week, she'd become a constant presence on the station, offering to facilitate communication between the colonies and Imperial aid ships. She was genuinely trying to help, which somehow made her more dangerous than any alien negotiator. "Ambassador Chen," she said softly, "I wanted to let you know that the integration process for the new partner colonies is proceeding smoothly. The Imperial medical teams have already eliminated Kepler syndrome from Arcturus III entirely. New Montana's mineral poisoning crisis is being resolved with environmental restoration technology." "At what cost?" Marcus asked without turning around. "No cost. The Empire doesn't charge rescue fees." Her voice held a note of genuine confusion. "Ambassador, I don't understand your continued opposition. Real human lives are being saved. Real human suffering is being eliminated. Isn't that what matters?" Marcus finally turned to face her. "Dr. Vasquez, may I ask you something personal? When you made the decision to support Centauri Republic's integration into the Empire, did you feel like you were betraying humanity?" She considered the question seriously. "For about 10 minutes, she admitted. Then I saw children who would have died from genetic diseases growing up healthy. I saw my people accomplishing things we'd only dreamed of. The guilt faded pretty quickly, and now, 15 years later, now I can't imagine why we waited so long to join. The Empire has given us everything they promised and more. My children have opportunities I never could have provided alone. My research has advanced centuries beyond what I could have achieved in isolation." Marcus nodded slowly. "That's exactly what I'm afraid of." Before Dr. Vasquez could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Admiral Martinez's communicator crackled with urgent transmissions from Earth. "Unknown ships detected entering the Sol system," the voice reported. "Configuration doesn't match Imperial designs. They're not responding to communications." Marcus and Martinez rushed to the command center with Dr. Vasquez following close behind. The tactical display showed 5 massive vessels approaching Earth from the direction of Proxima Centauri. Their design was angular, aggressive, and completely unfamiliar. "Who are they?" Admiral Martinez demanded. The communications officer's face was pale. "Unknown, Admiral. They're not in any of our databases, but they're broadcasting on all frequencies in hundreds of languages, including human languages." The main screen filled with an alien face unlike anything in Imperial records. The creature had multiple eyes arranged in a semicircle around its head, skin that shifted between metallic silver and deep blue, and a mouth that seemed to contain far too many teeth. "Humans of Sol System," the alien spoke in perfectly accented English. "We are the devourers of the void. We have come to claim your species for our collections. You have precisely 72 hours to prepare for harvest. Resistance will be noted and appreciated." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Dr. Vasquez was already activating her Imperial communicator, calling for emergency assistance. But the nearest Imperial fleet was 3 days away. "This is impossible," Admiral Martinez said, studying the alien ship's specifications. "These vessels are more advanced than anything in Imperial records. How did they get past Imperial border patrols?" "Because they're not from this galaxy," Dr. Vasquez said grimly, reading from her Imperial intelligence feeds. "The Devourers are extragalactic raiders. They've been responsible for the disappearance of 17 entire civilizations over the past millennium. The Empire has been trying to track them for centuries." Marcus felt a cold realization wash over him. "They're why the Empire wants human hope." "What do you mean?" Martinez asked. "The Empire is dying from within, but they're also threatened from without. These Devourers represent something they can't handle through normal Imperial methods. They need species that don't give up, that fight harder when things look hopeless. They need humans." Dr. Vasquez's eyes widened as she understood the implications. "The Empire isn't trying to conquer humanity for expansion. They're trying to recruit us as soldiers for a war they can't win alone. The tactical display updated with new information as Earth's defense fleets moved to intercept positions. Marcus counted the ships available. 47 vessels of various sizes against 5 massive alien warships of unknown capability. It was barely a fair fight, assuming the human ships could damage the aliens at all. What are our options? Admiral Martinez asked. We fight, Marcus said immediately. Whatever these devourers want with humanity, we don't let them have it. With what? Martinez gestured to the tactical display. Our entire fleet might not be enough to scratch their hulls. We need help. Dr. Vasquez was monitoring Imperial communications. There's an Imperial battle fleet 2 days out. If we can hold for 48 hours, they can reach us. Assuming we can hold for 48 minutes, Marcus said grimly. The command center fell silent as everyone contemplated their options. Earth's defense fleets were brave and well-trained, but they were hopelessly outgunned. The colonies that had accepted Imperial partnership could call for immediate aid, but the ships protecting them couldn't reach Earth in time. The independent colonies were even further away. Then Marcus's communicator chimed with an incoming message from an unexpected source, Overlord Kithmos of the Hegemony. Human Chen. The mechanical voice was unusually urgent. We are aware of the Devourer incursion into your system. The Empire is prepared to offer immediate military assistance in exchange for formal acceptance of Imperial partnership. This offer expires when the first human ship is destroyed. It was the ultimate ultimatum wrapped in a rescue offer. Accept Imperial control now or face extermination by alien raiders. The Empire had played their final card. Marcus looked around the command center at faces filled with fear and hope. They were waiting for him to make the choice that would determine humanity's future. Accept the Empire's protection and lose human independence forever, or reject it and possibly lose humanity itself. Admiral, he said quietly, open a channel to all human colonies and defense forces. Marcus, what are you doing? Martinez asked. Something the Empire isn't expecting, Marcus replied. Something human. Marcus stood before the communication array, knowing that his next words would be heard across all of human space. Every colony, every ship, every human settlement would receive his message. He could feel the weight of 3 billion lives depending on his decision. People of humanity, he began, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. In 36 hours, we face an enemy unlike any we've encountered before. The Devourers come not to conquer, but to harvest. They see us as specimens to add to their collection. On the tactical display, the 5 alien vessels continued their slow approach toward Earth. Their silence was more terrifying than any threat could have been. The Empire offers us salvation, Marcus continued. Imperial fleets stand ready to defend us, but only if we accept their protection permanently. They ask us to trade our freedom for our lives. Many of you have already made this choice, and I respect your decision, but I'm here to offer you an alternative. Admiral Martinez raised an eyebrow. She had no idea what Marcus was planning, and neither did Dr. Vasquez, who was listening intently from her position near the Imperial communication station. The alternative is this. We fight. Not as Imperial subjects, not as protected colonies under alien guidance, but as free humans defending our home. We fight knowing we might lose. We fight knowing the odds are against us. We fight because that's what humans do. Marcus paused, looking out at Earth through the viewport. Somewhere down there, children were playing in parks while their world faced extinction. They deserve to inherit a free humanity, whatever the cost. I'm not ordering anyone to die for independence, he said. I'm offering you the chance to live for it. Every human ship, every defense platform, every colony that chooses to stand with us is welcome. Every colony that chooses Imperial protection is also welcome. We're all human, and we all deserve to survive. The responses started coming in immediately. The Vega colonies pledged their defense fleets. Tau Ceti committed their mining ships retrofitted with military hardware. Even some of the colonies that had accepted Imperial partnership sent ships to join the defense. Dr. Vasquez approached Marcus as he finished the broadcast. Ambassador, this is suicide. The Devourers have destroyed civilizations far more advanced than humanity. You're asking people to die for a principle? No, Marcus replied. I'm asking them to live for one. Before Dr. Vasquez could respond, a new presence materialized in the command center. The air shimmered, and suddenly Overlord Kithmos stood before them, not as a hologram but physically present. Somehow the Empire had transported him directly onto the station. Human Chen, the mechanical being said, his voice carrying an unusual tone of respect. Your response was unexpected. The Empire has monitored human communications for the past hour. Your species' reaction to impossible odds continues to fascinate us. Fascinate you enough to help without strings attached? Marcus asked. That is why I am here, Kithmos replied. The Empire wishes to make one final proposal. Not for partnership, not for protection, but for something far more extraordinary. The Overlord activated a holographic display that filled the entire command center. It showed not just the current solar system, but the entire galaxy, and the approaching threat from beyond its borders. The Devourers are not raiders, Human Chen. They are scouts. Behind them comes something the Empire has hidden from every species in our territory, the Void Collective, an extragalactic civilization that has already consumed 3 galaxies. The display zoomed out to show the cosmic scale of the threat. Entire galactic clusters were marked as consumed or in process. Their own galaxy was next on the list. For 800 years, the Empire has prepared for this invasion, Kithmos continued. We have unified 6,000 species, built the largest military force in galactic history, and optimized every aspect of our civilization for maximum efficiency. None of it matters. Admiral Martinez stepped forward. What do you mean? We mean that the Void Collective cannot be defeated by conventional military force, Kithmos explained. They have consumed civilizations far more advanced than ours. Their strength lies not in their technology, but in their absolute unity. Every member of their collective thinks and acts as one. There is no disagreement, no innovation, no chaos in their ranks. Marcus began to understand. And that's why you need humans. Yes. The Empire's greatest strength against conventional threats is also our greatest weakness against the collective. We are organized, efficient, predictable. The collective can anticipate our every move because they think in the same patterns we do. The holographic display changed to show battle simulations between Imperial forces and collective fleets. Every simulation ended in Imperial defeat, regardless of technological or numerical advantages. Humans are different, Kithmos continued. Your species thrives on chaos, adapts to impossible circumstances, and finds solutions that no logical analysis would suggest. You are everything the Empire is not, and everything we need to survive. Dr. Vasquez looked stunned. The entire integration program, the partnership offers, the cultural exchange, all of it was preparation for this war? Not preparation, desperation. Kithmos turned to face Marcus directly. The Empire does not wish to conquer humanity, Human Chen. The Empire wishes to learn from humanity. We need teachers, not subjects. The Overlord paused as his communication systems activated. Urgent messages were flooding in from across Imperial space. The Devourer scout ships were accelerating toward Earth, their intentions becoming clear. Which brings us to our final proposal, Kithmos said. The Empire offers humanity full equality within our civilization. Not as junior partners, but as guides and advisors in the coming war. Human commanders would lead Imperial fleets. Human strategies would guide Imperial policy. Human independence would be not just preserved, but elevated. Marcus stared at the alien being who had just offered humanity leadership of a galactic empire. In exchange for what? Your help in remaining human, Kithmos replied simply. The Empire needs to learn what humanity never forgot. How to hope when hope seems impossible. How to fight when victory seems unattainable. How to innovate when all logical options have been exhausted. The tactical display chimed with an urgent warning. The Devourer ships were beginning their final approach to Earth. Whatever decision was made would have to be made now. There is one more thing you should know, Kithmos added quietly. The Devourers are not here by accident. They were sent by the Void Collective specifically to test humanity's response to overwhelming threat. Your species is already known to them. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. They've been watching us? The Collective has been studying every species in the galaxy, searching for ones that might pose a threat to their expansion. Humanity's consistent refusal to surrender, even when faced with certain destruction, has marked you as a priority target. The truth hit Marcus like a physical blow. Humanity's greatest strength had made them the enemy's primary target. Their refusal to give up hope had doomed them to special attention from forces beyond imagination. So what you're really offering, Marcus said slowly, is not salvation, But survival long enough to fight a war we can't win. Kithmos's mechanical head tilted in what might have been admiration. Human Chen, you have just described the most hope the Empire has felt in 800 years. Marcus looked at the tactical display showing 5 Devourer ships approaching Earth, then at the holographic representation of an entire galaxy under threat, and finally at Overlord Kithmos waiting for his answer. The weight of humanity's future rested on his next words. I need to ask you something, Marcus said to the mechanical being. If we agree to this partnership, will humans still be free to say no to the Empire? Kithmos tilted his head, processing the question. You would be equal partners in an alliance, not subjects of conquest. Yes, humans would retain the right to disagree, to resist, to choose different paths. In fact, that independence of thought is precisely what we need from you. Even if those disagreements make things less efficient, especially then. Efficiency is what made the Empire vulnerable to the collective in the first place. We need the chaos of human thinking to survive. Marcus turned to Admiral Martinez. What's the status of our defense fleets? 63 ships from various colonies have joined Earth's defense force. Still outnumbered and outgunned, but we've got more firepower than I expected. She paused, checking her communications. And Ambassador. All the colonies that voted for Imperial partnership have sent ships too. They're fighting as humans today regardless of their political status. That decided it for Marcus. If humans could work together while maintaining their independence, if they could cooperate without surrendering their right to choose, then maybe there was a different path forward. Overlord Kithmos, Marcus said formally. Humanity accepts your proposal, but with conditions. Name them. First, any human colony or world that chooses to leave this alliance can do so at any time, with no retaliation. Second, human military commanders answer to human authority, even when leading Imperial forces. Third, if we find a way to defeat the Void Collective that the Empire disagrees with, we're free to try it anyway. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, looking amazed. Ambassador, you're negotiating terms for an alliance between humanity and a galactic empire while under attack by extragalactic raiders. This is either brilliant or insane. It's human, Marcus replied simply. Overlord, do you accept these terms? Kithmos was silent for a long moment, consulting with distant Imperial authorities through his internal communications. Finally, he nodded. The Empire accepts. Welcome to the Alliance of Independent Worlds. Human Chen, you are now our first equal partners in 800 years. The Devourer ships chose that moment to open fire. Earth's orbital defenses, augmented by the assembled human fleet, engaged the alien raiders in the first battle of what historians would later call the Chaos War. The human ships fought with desperate creativity, using tactics no Imperial commander would have considered logical. Captain Morrison of the mining ship, Persistence used his vessel's industrial cutting lasers to slice through a Devourer hull section that should have been impenetrable. Commander Jackson of the New Geneva Defense Force coordinated a ramming attack that destroyed her own ship, but crippled a raider twice its size. Throughout the battle, humans did things that made no tactical sense and shouldn't have worked. They worked anyway. When the Imperial fleet arrived 18 hours later, expecting to find Earth in ruins, they found 3 destroyed Devourer ships and 2 more fleeing toward deep space. The cost had been heavy. 27 human ships destroyed, over 3,000 lives lost. But humanity had achieved something no other species had managed in a millennium of Imperial records. They had defeated the Devourers. How? Overlord Kithmos asked Marcus as they stood in the observatory, watching Imperial and human ships working together to clear orbital debris. Our tactical analysis indicated a 97% probability of complete human defeat. Marcus pointed to the wreckage of the mining ship Persistence, now drifting in a slowly decaying orbit. Captain Morrison used mining equipment as weapons because he didn't know it was impossible. Commander Jackson sacrificed her ship because she cared more about protecting others than following standard engagement protocols. Our people fought like humans, not like Imperial naval doctrine. And that made the difference? That made us unpredictable. The Devourers had studied Imperial tactics for centuries. They had no data on human stubbornness. Dr. Vasquez joined them at the observation window. I've been reviewing the collective's expansion patterns, she said, holding a data pad. They've consumed civilizations by predicting their behavior and countering every strategy. But they can't predict chaos, Marcus nodded. which is why this alliance might actually work. The Empire provides the resources and coordination we need to fight a galactic war. Humans provide the unpredictability that makes victory possible. 3 months later, Marcus stood on the bridge of the ISS Terra, the first human-commanded Imperial battleship. Around him, a mixed crew of humans and aliens worked together with an efficiency that surprised everyone. It shouldn't have worked. Human chaos and Imperial order should have been incompatible. Instead, they complemented each other perfectly. Admiral Chen, his communications officer, reported, "We're receiving a transmission from the Collective's advanced scouts. They want to negotiate," Marcus smiled. After 800 years of inevitable expansion, the Void Collective had finally encountered something that made them pause. Humans who refused to surrender, and an empire that had learned to hope again. "Tell them we're willing to talk," Marcus said, "but we're not willing to surrender." As the ISS Terra headed toward the galactic edge where human and collective forces would meet for the first time, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought him here. He'd spent months refusing every Imperial proposal, fighting to preserve human independence. In the end, he'd found something better than independence: partnership without surrender, cooperation without submission, hope shared across the galaxy. The Void Collective had made one critical error in their analysis of the galaxy's civilizations. They'd assumed that the choice was between conquest and resistance, between unity and chaos, between surrender and destruction. They'd never considered the possibility of alliance between order and chaos, between the Empire's strength and humanity's stubborn hope. As the Terra's sensors picked up the first collective ships on the edge of known space, Marcus knew they were about to give their enemies a very human education in the power of impossible choices. Behind them, across 6,000 worlds and 800,000 star systems, the Alliance of Independent Worlds prepared for a war that couldn't be won with conventional thinking. At the center of it all, 3 billion humans continued to do what they'd always done, refused to accept that something was impossible just because the odds said it was. The galaxy would never be the same. And for the first time in 800 years, that was exactly what the Empire was hoping for.